Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking about writing introductory paragraphs, and that includes writing a thesis statement. Your thesis statement is one of the most important sentences in your essay. It lets your reader know exactly what the whole essay is going to be about. Now, introductory paragraph is also really important to know because you'll be writing introductions for every essay in this class, but also your other classes from here on out, right? So an introductory paragraph can follow this format no matter what class you're writing for no matter what level of education. I followed this format all through school, really helpful. So in this class, we're going to learn how to write 3 types of paragraphs. We're going to learn how to write intro paragraphs, body paragraphs, and concluding paragraphs. And all 3 of those have kind of different formats. So let's kind of just focus in on this one first. So your introduction actually has 3 parts to it, right? Apparently everything comes in 3s. So we have hook, bridge, thesis, right? So the first part of your introduction should start with the hook, which is the attention grabber, right? It's meant to like hook your reader's attention, make them be like, oh, I would like to keep reading this. So you want to kind of also think about this part of your essay insofar as say your history teacher has a stack of 120 essays about Thomas Jefferson, right? They're kind of going through. You want to make sure that your essay kind of stands out, right? And from the gate, your teacher wants to read it, right? So you want to grab their attention and make them want to continue to read, right? So there are a couple ways to do this. You definitely want to think about your audience as you choose which way, because some teachers will appreciate kind of a quirky, funny one or a creative one, and some teachers would like it to be more like, the definition. So here are a couple ways to do that. You could have a quote, right? And this could be a quote from a primary source that you're reading that kind of stands out. It could be, depending on your audience, a quote from your favorite song. It could be a quote from like Gandhi, right? But you could grab their attention with a quote. Now, just FYI, if you do a quote, you want to make sure to cite it, right? And you also want to make sure to segue into it, right? So instead of writing like an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind and then put a dash in Gandhi, you want to say Gandhi said and then put the quote in. All right, so integrate the author into that. You could also use an anecdote or a small story, right? So start off kind of painting a word picture. You can get really creative here. Imagine this, imagine that, right? You could have a definition. Sometimes this is really important. Like if you're talking about culture in your essay, you might want to start with a definition of that. You could use a startling fact or statistic, right? If you use that, again, you want to make sure you cite that. Your hook can be one sentence or a couple, right? If you have that anecdote or small story, it might take 3 or 4 sentences to paint that picture, right? Now your startling fact, it might just be like startling fact, and then you might take a couple sentences to kind of explain it a little bit, right? So the second part of your introductory paragraph will be the bridge, right? Hook, bridge, thesis. So your bridge kind of connects the hook to the thesis. It acts as that bridge. So this is where you kind of give your reader some background information about the topics that kind of understand what you're talking about. So if you are writing a narrative, right, which we're doing for our first essay, maybe give some background information about you, right? Where did you grow up? Where are you from? That kind of thing. If you're discussing a specific piece of fiction, here's where you kind of give a summary of the work, right? So for example, at the end of the semester, we're reading Frankenstein. And for Frankenstein, you'll want to, in your bridge, mention the title of the work, the author, and give kind of a brief summary so your reader knows what that is about. Now, for our other essays, you're going to be using a couple different sources for those essays to back up what you say. So you don't want to use a summary of those in those intros. For your third essay, where you're discussing a specific short story, you're going to want to again mention the title, the author, and give kind of a summary. Finally, that brings us to our thesis statement. So again, like I said, the thesis statement is really, really, really important, right? It states what the whole essay is about. So I should be able to look at that thesis statement and say, oh, okay, this is what they're going to be talking about. So it does have to be one sentence. If you have a really hard time kind of boiling your thesis down, here's where a semicolon is really, really helpful. If you need help kind of figuring out how to use that, I can help you with that. And we're also going to kind of learn about those later on. It should state the main assertion or claim of your paper, right? So like I said, every single paper has to have kind of like a point, right? This essay is about what? It could be answering kind of a question from a prompt. If it's an argument, it's got some sort of a claim, right? Something that you believe. So that should be in the thesis statement. It needs to be the last sentence of the introduction. So I should be able to kind of go down to the last sentence of your intro and see that thesis statement. Lets your reader know what you're going to talk about. It's the basis for your whole essay. And it's kind of like kind of a larger topic sentence, right? So topic sentence is about what that paragraph is going to be about. A thesis is what the whole essay is going to be about. So you need a topic and a controlling idea, and that controlling idea is your claim or opinion, right? So for the first essay, your topic could be your culture, right? And your claim or opinion could be that it was impacted by the different languages you speak at home, right? So you need to make sure to have those two parts, right? Your topic and what you're saying about the topic, right? So in your outlines, you will always include a thesis statement so that I can start to take a look at that and help you kind of format it. You can have a working thesis, which means it's kind of like a little bit broad. And as you write, you can kind of narrow it down a little bit, right? So that can kind of change as you write your paper. So you can have an umbrella thesis or a listing thesis. So the umbrella thesis kind of zooms back. I think a lot of people are used to writing 5-paragraph essays, which the listing thesis works really well for, right? Where you have 3 body paragraphs. You're going to talk about, family, work, and school, right? So listing thesis will list out those main points, right? An umbrella thesis kind of zooms out and kind of, instead of saying family, work, and school, says like the people I see in the places I go on a daily basis, right? It kind of zooms out and it kind of umbrellas those different topics. That's going to be a lot more useful as we kind of move on in our essay writing, because we're not going to be writing 5-paragraph essays very long, right? So it'll be more useful when we're writing 4, 5, 6-paragraph essays, right? Or body paragraphs, right? So a thesis, again, needs to be one sentence, even if you are listing. And here I mentioned that semicolon again. So here I have 2 kind of examples, which are talking about Aristotelian argumentation, right? Which is like ethos, pathos, logos. So an umbrella thesis kind of zooms out and says that Singer, which is an author, uses Aristotelian argumentation effectively to make his point about surgery. A listing thesis says Singer is unable to objectively state the issue, right? First point, summarize the opposition. Second point, or outline a Rogerian solution, right? That's the third point. So that's the listing thesis, where I have points A, B, and C. And those are going to be making up the body paragraphs. And the body paragraphs need to follow the points in the listing thesis. So if you are more of a sort of visual learner, here's the visual, right, of the introductory paragraph. So we start off broad with the hook, right, to grab the reader's attention. It could be something that doesn't really seem to match the topic of your paper, but in that bridge, you're going to make it match it. You funnel down to the bridge to bring up information that's essential to your reader for understanding what's happening. And then we're going to get to that point at the very bottom, that super specific thesis statement, which is like, this is what my essay is going to be about, right? One thing I suggest is that if you're struggling with a thesis statement, start off by just writing, this essay is going to be about blah, 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 right? And then you can make that into a kind of more sort of fancy, highfalutin statement later on. Anyways, we will kind of continue and talk about different sort of paragraphs as we move on from here. But anyway, I will let you go and we will touch base again later.